Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geary Stein and Stevens Show, an amazing video podcast with sports stars, entertainment celebrities, and other great guests, combining one host who has no legs, one host who lives in Duluth, Minnesota, and another host who seems to never be on the show. But now, on to the show with Troy, Dave, and maybe even Will.
Welcome. Hello, everybody. It's Dave Stevens. Of course, I am the co-host of the Geary Stein and Stevens Show. And that would be also the co-host who is in Duluth, Minnesota, which would be Troy Geary. So, Troy, how are you, buddy? How's Duluth, Minnesota treating you, and how's the weather?
I'm doing great, Dave. Excited for the show tonight.
Yeah, we have a great show in store for everybody, and I'm going to bring in our guest tonight. He is a former Chicago Bull. He is our second three-time NBA champion. Of course, he got those with the Chicago Bulls. I'm talking about former NBA guy Scott Williams joining us from my home state of Arizona. Scott, thanks for being a part of the Geary Stein and Stevens Show. How you doing, brother?
Dave, Troy, I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm still suffering the holiday hangover where my gut's hanging over my belt from Thanksgiving. But, too blessed to be stressed out here in the Valley of the Sun. You know, Dave, this time of the year, this is the big payback for us surviving that summer heat when we had a record 100 days of 115 plus every day without a drop of rain. So the big payback, it's 82, and yesterday it's about 76 a day and sunny. I was out on the golf course running around. So man, this is the time of year to be out here in Arizona. And our sports teams outside the Cardinals and the Coyotes, they doing pretty good, man. I mean, Suns are finding their groove. They're won 8 in a row. U of A is the number 2 team in the nation. Even my little GCU Antelopes off to a nice 4-1 start. So we're really loving the landscape right now out here in the sports scene.
And we are going to talk a lot of basketball tonight. And, the Suns are exciting. If Beasley gets back, I mean, holy cow, we might have something here. But, Scott, we're going to talk about your career and the amazing things you did in the NBA. Of course, primarily the biggest part of your career was with the Bulls and getting those 3 back-to-back-to-back NBA championships. What are your memories of your time, especially with the Bulls?
Just how fun of a group it was to be a part of. We were the, I don't know, we call it the Beatles, the Rolling Stones of not only the NBA but professional sports, with Michael Jordan on that squad, the biggest personality on the planet in any walk of life for that matter. I think he's probably more popular than the president. And to be a part of not only that type of vibe, that atmosphere, and sometimes circus-like atmosphere around the Bulls was special. I come from a situation where I'm undrafted coming out of college, to crying in my beer one night to host the championship trophy with a glass of champagne in my hand. So a year later. So it was a tremendous experience. I loved playing alongside Michael Jordan for the 3 years that I was lucky enough to suit up for the Bulls in a Jordan uniform. In fact, I kid him sometimes. If I'd have known he was going to come back after chasing fly balls in baseball, I never freaking would have left Chicago. I would have stayed right there the whole time because playing with him was something special to watch every day and practice every game. The professionalism, the work ethic. There were life lessons to be had being around that dude.
And you guys played, I mean, those battles were legendary, especially against those Knicks and a guy like John Starks. I mean, John Starks was such an instrumental part of those success stories for the Knicks, and you battled him. I mean, he was a little guy that wasn't afraid to go in and bruise you guys.
You had to bring up all Starks today, huh? I was having such a good day. Starks was one of these guys for the Knicks. He wasn't the 2 guys you have there, Oakley and Ewing, in that photo there. They had Charles Smith, Anthony Mason. They had some bruising big men. But Starks was this little pit bull kind of dude that just wanted to just constantly get in there and be a little big man, if you will. So myself, Stacey King, Will Perdue, Bill Cartwright, we loved giving him a little extra shot. He came down the lane, try to knock him on his keister the way that they were knocking MJ and Scottie Pippen around. But I've gotten to know John a little bit more since retirement from some charity golf stuff that we both down in Charlotte, and I have to say he's not such a bad guy after all.
Well, I'm glad you didn't say anything horrible, because if you look, here's John Starks.
What's up, Scotty? How you doing, bro?
Oh my God! Okay, this is one of the surprises, huh?
Yeah, this is your life, Scott. So
I kind of, I'm sure you probably had similar feelings back in the early '90s. So I don't feel.
Oh, no question. Those was fun battles.
In fact,
battling you guys back then.
You were at the garden last night. I had my spies out there reporting to me. They said they saw you running around the garden last night with the Hornets. Were in town.
I was.
From our hoop TJ was down there, so he let me know you were running around the garden last night.
Oh, for sure.
And John, we appreciate you being on and being such a good sport. But the truth is, you were such an instrumental part. And those Bulls, I mean, when we look at the footage of when you were playing and just the hard-nosed way you played against the Bulls, and it was always physical. It was like you had to jump inside and prove that you had to get a rebound. You had to do all the little things, but it always seems like it came down to the Bulls pushing you around, and you got right back up and you said, hey, I'm not going to take this, and your teammates weren't going to take it. And it was the NBA of those times, not like they are. What are some of your memories of those battles?
No, they were just obviously great battles, competitive battles. Chicago obviously was the team that everybody had to go through, especially in the East. If you wanted to get to that crowning moment, is to win a championship or play for a championship. And, obviously they had the best player in the league during those times, which was Michael. And in my book, obviously the greatest player to ever play this game at this level. But, we knew that it was going to come down to them and us. And, they were just tough getting past them, because whatever we think we had them, Michael would do something special, whether it's hit a big shot or set his teammates up to knock down shots. And he was just a very special player. And they had a great team, Scotty, Horace, Scott, and, B.J. Armstrong during that time. They had a very special team.
Yeah, Scott, I got a question to ask you. I know without going too much into detail with your book. Talk about the impact Dean Smith had on your career and overall just your life in general.
Well, first, let me just say I pulled out my camera and recorded your answer there, John, because I'm gonna put that on my show there. I love that. The competitiveness was exactly what I think that was for me. Been around the game, and I don't know what your feeling is, John, but I thought it was the height of the NBA. I appreciate the athleticism of the players today and the skills to be able to shoot the ball, but nobody played the way we played in that stretch in the 90s. Basketball was just something special. And I really do appreciate those battles. I didn't know you were jumping on here, so this is something nice for me. But there's a picture of my book, Through the Fire. PJ and Scotty, Horace, Michael. That to me was wonderful. And to answer your question, Troy, my relationship with Coach Dean Smith, was like father and son. I lost my parents to murder-suicide after my freshman year and college, and Coach Smith stepped in seamlessly and was a father figure to me in all aspects, on and off the with relationships, with finances, everything that I had to do to try to become a good, not just basketball player, but a civic-minded, community member, and he was like that for me when I needed somebody in my life to really be there for me. And I can never repay him for all he did. He not just coached me up, he saved my life from going down a completely different route.
And I mean, Scott, I heard this when I was doing my research. I mean, Dean Smith sent you a check for $200 when he died. He gave a check of $200 to take themselves out to dinner for every coach. I mean, that just says a lot about what that man was.
Yeah, even in his passing, he wanted to thank all the players. He took all the blame for the losses and gave all the players the glory for the victories. Took the pressure off us as young men, at a high program like North Carolina, to always have to go out there and compete at our best. And some days you just didn't have it, unfortunately. We all knew it wasn't his fault, but it was nice that he did that. And so in his passing, not a surprise to anybody that he was thinking about us, even in his final days. And yeah, I got the check. It's over my shoulder here, that I put in a frame with a couple of his basketball cards of his, and the nice letter that was accompanied the check. But I wasn't cashing that. I wanted to make sure I had that for the rest of my life. I bounced around different teams, different cities, and that's one of the pieces of sports memorabilia that always goes with me. I'm kind of I've just moved back to the Arizona area, so my office is a little bit in shambles right now, but you can see that was one of the things that's most important for me to get on the wall.
And I think it's amazing here, John. We have two undrafted players that had really good careers in the NBA. I mean, John, what does that say as far as your hard work and the tenacity that you were able to do to get into the NBA and have a successful career?
Well, first and foremost, I didn't realize that Scott wasn't drafted. I'm shocked by that, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I thought he was one of the top big mans coming out during the year that he came out. So I'm learning something new about you, Scott.
Likewise,
so
I
that's
didn't
amazing.
realize you weren't drafted either. I thought Golden State drafted you back in the day.
Yeah. No, it's just amazing. It's just, when you're undrafted, you come into this league and you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself and know that you belong in this league, and you have to fight your way, and you have to show, each time you go out there on the court, you have to produce, and you have to produce at a high level, and you have to show, whatever respective team that you with, that you belong here. And that's what my mentality was, that I was going to come in here and have that mentality that, hey, I was going to come in here and do my job and do it to a high level. And I worked my tail off in order to, make myself into the player that I became. When I came out, I was listed at 6'5", which I'm actually 6'2". So players that I played against, especially at my position, had the height and the weight on me. And so I had to play with that tenacity in order to compete. And I wanted to let, each and every player that I competed against know that my name is John Starks and I'm coming at you full force. And so, but I enjoyed my time in the league. Like Scott said, the 90s was the perfect, atmosphere for me and my mentality. Scott was a tough-minded individual. I think back now, the battles that we had, Scott, and guys try to go at you and you came right back at them. And so I appreciate that from being the type of player I was, knowing that you wasn't taking any mess off of anybody, even us. And so that says a lot about you.
Well, John, it's like you when you were undrafted. You're right. You got that chip on your shoulder. You don't think these cats that got drafted in front of you were any better than you, and they are out there competing. And I would be damned if I was going to let somebody outwork me or out hustle me or out battle me or out physicality. I was going to give it my all. I didn't know if I was going to be there for a week, a month,
exactly.
a year, or 15 years, as it turned out. But I wasn't going to leave nothing on the court, and that's what I always appreciated. I don't know if I always appreciated at the time catching them extra elbows from your big, but now that I look back on it, I go, man, I tell you what, that was a big part of those battles, because when I first came into the league in Chicago, the first thing I heard about in training camp was Detroit. Like, we got to get past the Pistons. We got to get the best record in the league so we can get past the Pistons. When we swept the Pistons in the playoff, they weren't nothing. It was the damn Knicks, the ones that kept giving us fits. That was a big part of that. Obviously, seeing him in that NBA All-Star jersey, he earned everything that he got out of the NBA.
Well, and both of you, I mean, really, it's a great story of perseverance. And, I would say the little guy, but Scott, you're not a little guy. And John, even though you lied 3 inches higher, whatever. But you're in the dunk contest. And we have a great show. And I like to put people on the spot a little bit like we did for you, Scott, tonight. So let me bring something out of Scott's past that we can all make fun of, because you did a commercial, too, that I don't know if people will remember.
Uh-oh. Yo, man, 3-on-3 at this tournament. We're going to play you guys 2-on-3. Gentlemen, you need 3 men on this course, and he's next. Can you handle the rock? Can you jump? Dribble? Shoot? Not really. Can you pass? Yeah, I can pass. I'm serious. I want to shoot a little more next time. Next time. Way next time.
Wow, you guys went deep in the archives to find that one.
Yeah. Year, huh?
Hey, man, I'm just saying in my defense here, right? I wasn't drafted. Nike and Reebok, they didn't come to me with these big old, endorsement deals. I had to get in where I fit. I think LA Gear paid me about $300 or something like that. I had to jump on that. When you making the league minimum, I got a guy that made a half-court shot in Chicago. A full court shot in Chicago. He made $1 million. I was like, that was more than I had made in 3 years. So you got that little money. NBA eventually forgave me for switching from Nike to those LA that one season that I wore them. But yeah, that was fun. But those legends, the Hakeem Olajuwon, Karl Malone, Joe Montana. Being out there on the beaches of Venice filming that commercial, that's one of those things I'll never forget. But we don't ever need to see that commercial again, though.
I found a couple John Starks John wouldn't have wanted us to play about him trying to explain off. You remember some of those Adidas commercials you had right there, John?
I do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of commercials, though, John has a new commercial out, and we're going to take a break, show his new commercial, and we'll come back and Scott can make fun of him. Stay with us. You're watching Geary Stein and Stevens.
Look, Mom, it's John Stein.
John, what are you doing here?
I'm here to take that soda. Try Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Eat healthy, drink healthy, be healthy.
Wow, this is delicious. No sugar, caffeine-free, keto-friendly, plant-based, vitamin C, vitamin D, elderberry, and zinc, and only 5 calories. I love it.
Thin Energy keeps me on my game every day. Make the dunk of your life with Thin Energy. Try Thin Energy at your local retailer. Be healthy, be happy.
We told you all year long, and now we have to holler. We ruined all our clothes and scratched out all our collars. So freshly dressed, that's the sign to go. With hundreds of amazing shirts and places to spend your dough. Oh, freshly dressed, will light your shopping load. And say you want to check out the GSSO code. The GSSO code.
All right, how about that one? Welcome back to the Geary Stein.
That was awesome. I'm gonna have to run out and get me some Thin Energies before the New Year's.
Thin Energy,
here, man. I need to lose a few LBs.
Wow. There you go. Drink up.
Yeah, and we've also brought in another guest, Michael Gardner. Michael, thanks for joining us. You're a part of this amazing initiative with this new product. So tell us a little bit about it and how John got involved.
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, as a fan, watching and hearing John and Scott go back and forth, man, it's like, I remember the 90s. I like the game today, but back then, that game was a different game. And it's ironic because when I met John, I used to train some of the Pacers and Colts. I lived in Indianapolis. And when I first met John, I went up to John and I said, man, I never met him. I said, man, I never met somebody that talked so much shit to Reggie Miller in my life. That I said, man, you backed it up. And I gave him the product. Called me a week later. How can I get involved? And I had just launched the company. But the long and short of the story is everything you hear about tenacity and what it took for John to make it in the NBA. And now that I'm hearing more with Scotty and everything going on there, it's like, man, it just really shows, that heart and the desire and the drive. And that's what it takes in life. And I think, that inspiration for perspiration. And that's what I think these kids need right now. And I see the work that John does with the kids, his foundation. And that's when I knew, just to have him as a partner and part of our team has been a blessing. And, we're all trying to give back. And with my brand, when I launched it, it was all about our Eat Healthy, Be Healthy, Drink Healthy initiative and giving back to the community. So it's been, effortless. We're the first plant-based certified hydration drink with elderberry, zinc, vitamin D, no sugar, no caffeine, no stimulants. So, it's really been special, and having John part of the team and just, we hadn't even got started yet. I keep telling John, we're in the preseason, man. We're about ready to go make our run for the championship. So, we just launched our military initiative with our Hydrate Heroes. So it's all about giving back. And when I see the work that John's done, I've been at some of his tournaments last couple of years, and man, it just motivates me even more to give back because I see what he's done. And here's the thing, John's been doing it for a long time. This isn't something he just started with his foundation. And man, I love you, John, and it's just been a great partnership and looking forward to us winning the championship.
And John's not going to be a part of something that's going to make you fall down. I mean, John, this is obviously it's a great product and it's something we need. And the initiative with the heroes, right?
Oh, no question. Like Mike said, me getting involved in it, I thought it was definitely a need out there, especially with what's going on with the obesity in our society. And this right here is a drink that's obviously plant-based drink, but it gives you so much energy. You're talking about all the other energy drinks out there. They got caffeine in it. This doesn't have that and does what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean? Give you that energy that can last a long time. I tell Mike all the time, I drink it early in the morning. I don't have to eat until around by 12, because for some whatever reason, it gives me that type of energy, but it fills me up at the same time. So, and plus, what we're doing with the military and our servicemen and women, it's great to be a part of something that's going to help people. I always wanted to be a part of, and that's what I do in life, especially with my foundation, is to help people.
Well, we are excited to hopefully start supporting your initiative. And again, it's such a great product and something that is actually going to help our heroes. We don't do enough for our heroes, and I can't do enough and continue to do enough and support our veterans. So thank you guys for being a part of that. And this is still the Geary Stein and Steven show. Go ahead, Scott.
I need to find out how to get him my address to ship a couple of them bottles out here to Arizona for me.
Hey, there we go.
I got you, Scott.
We'll connect the loops, right? And speaking of energy, because I know Scott got to witness this firsthand. Let's talk about the energy on the dunk. Let's talk about that play. There are not a lot of things that are just called the dunk. So, give me your thoughts on that, Scott.
I felt bad for stuff. Writing Grant on that one. I'm glad I wasn't part of that. That was nasty. See, no one expected him to go with the left. That's where he got everybody. He jumped up like he didn't shoot. No one expected to see the left hand jam. That was
John,
nasty.
your thoughts?
I give props for that.
Yeah, BJ
No,
gets kicked out
I did that for the picture, Scott. It's better for the picture.
You got the right angle, the good side. I love it.
Yeah. No, but most right-handers jump better going right. I jump better going, off of two, going with my left hand. For whatever reason, it's just a natural reaction.
There's the immaculate reception. There's the dunk. I mean, it's so iconic. You've got to be so proud that when they say the dunk, everybody knows. I mean, do people remind you at least once or twice a week, John?
Every single day. No matter where I'm at, somebody asked me about that play. I can honestly say that I started working and since 2004, every single day, somebody asked me about that play. Every single day, I can honestly say that. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And we know it was a different league in those days, obviously much more physical. Now, you look at somebody and they give you a technical, but, I'm wondering if you guys could both kind of address what the league was like then and now, because John, you're kind of like a Curry. I think nowadays your game would be a little more finesse, outside shooting, and you wouldn't have to drive so much. So talk a little bit, both of you. I'm going to let you both just lead that discussion of what was different now and what it's like then. And if you both were playing now, what would your games be like?
Wait,
Well, I say this.
Let me start, John. Let me
Okay,
start
you
on
go
this
ahead.
because you got a better answer. Let me start on this because I'm gonna say right
Okay.
now, I couldn't have played in the league today. I didn't have the athleticism to play the way these guys are playing now, or the speed. I was a bruiser. I was down under that box trying to knock people around, and I think I got suspended from Game 7 for hitting Allen Iverson too hard in the 2000s because I was thinking we were still in the 90s. But John, I'm gonna let you take it from there because your game translates.
Yeah.
I would not have.
Yeah. No, I think you could have played in this league, because it is all about how you were growing up. At that time, when you was growing up, and I know you tall ever since you was a child, and the first place they put you is down low. You know what I mean? They tell you to get down low and post up and do this and do that. Now you see big mans now, they facing the basket. I see kids all the time that's tall, they facing the basket. So they not pigeonholed into just being a low post player. And so you probably would have changed your whole game if you grew up in this era. You know what I mean? So don't discount your ability. You had a lot of ability. But I would say for me, yeah, my game would have translated into this era. I tell people I played in a league called the World Basketball League, where we was playing 6'5" and unders was the league, but we had guys that was 6'10" in there, 6'9", and it was just track meet, just kind of like what you see today, and it was easy to get to the basket like it is today. You know what I mean? Oh, the lane is wide open. Back then, like Scott said, you came down that lane, you knew as a guard, you're going to get hit. And you're going to get laid, and you're going to get laid on your back. You're going to get laid on your back. And the referee would just look at you. All right, get up, go shoot your free throw. You know what I mean? They wasn't going to the videotape to see how hard you got hit, where you got hit at. They wasn't doing none of that. So you had to be physical when you came down that lane. You look at, The Last Dance, and you look at all the videos that was shown when Mike was coming up through, trying to get through Detroit. How many times he was getting laid out. But one thing about him, he kept coming. It didn't matter. He kept coming and coming and coming. You hit him, he's coming even harder. You know what I mean? That was his mentality. And so for me, these guys, they very talented, like Scott said. Some of these guys probably couldn't play back then, but a lot of them could. You know what I mean? And the game was a lot different, and it was more of a inside-out game because everybody had guys on their team like Scott, 6'10", 6'11", 260, 270, 280, and so it was a big man's game back then. And so the lane wasn't as wide open. When you did get to the lane and there wasn't nobody there, it was like, oh, man, thank God. You know what I'm saying? So, you got a free run at the rim. But, the game is totally different now. And but I appreciate the artistry in the game. These guys, they get to handle the ball a little different than we could handle the ball. So it would make it harder to guard them because you couldn't put your hands on them. I always tell people, if I couldn't put my hands on Michael Jordan, he'd probably have 50 every single night, and so you had to play him. And they tell me, what do you think Michael would have done? Please. Michael averaged, 30 some points for his career. One year he averaged 36. And that's when you could put your hands on him and rough him up and what have you. And I think if you couldn't put your hands on him, it'd be a massacre in today's game. I would feel for these kids.
You know what?
Would you agree, Scott?
One thing,
Will you agree with that, Scott?
You might get a kick out of this. When I played for Phil Jackson in Chicago, they had a rule that if the big guys shot a 3-point shot in a game and we missed, we would be fined by the team. So just goes to show, these guys that are 6'11", 7 foot, heck, even 7'5", the Wembanyama kid, shooting them threes out there. That didn't fly in Chicago back in the early 90s.
I got a question for you, Scott, and follow up for you, John. I mean, Scott, you kind of you had two different eras. You played with Jordan, but you also played with Shaq and even LeBron early in his career. Just real quick, what makes each one of those guys so special?
Well, John already he waxed poetic on Michael earlier, so no reason there any more than the others say the man was fiercely competitive. He just wanted to show everybody on the court, in the arena, watching on television or listening on the radio, that they just witnessed the baddest man that ever put on a pair of basketball shorts. And it didn't matter if it was the fourth night of the fifth night of 4 games in Cleveland or Madison Square Garden. He had that same sort of effort and attitude anytime that he stepped between those lines. And with LeBron, he was competitive, but in a different way. Like MJ wanted to steal your heart from you. He wanted you to leave the arena, not to knowing that even in your dreams, you would never be able to dream that you would be able to beat him. And LeBron wants to just beat you in a way that involved more of a team aspect. If he had to give the basketball up over the course of 40 minutes to do that, if he had to take the final shot, the whatever play necessarily on the floor, it wasn't so much about you not thinking that you were as talented as him on any given night. He just got the better of you that night, but he does it night in and night out. And I appreciate both of them. The fact that the question I hate the most is, who's the greatest of all time? Because I don't want people to think that I think LeBron's not a good player and not one of the greats of the game has ever produced. It's just Michael's just better. And I hate to have to answer it. I do. And I say that MJ's the best of all time. Of course, being a North Carolina guy, I got to be able to go back to Chapel Hill and not be attacked by the Tar Heel faithful. But they're both phenomenal players, and I really enjoy, having watched them from up close is probably the highlight of my career. Like you say, the bookend, MJ in the front and LeBron the end, and a lot of Hall of Famers in between. But nobody the way those two guys did it.
John, your thoughts?
No, I agree with him 100%. I can, pose this question to Scott. I always tell people, Mike made guys come up to his level. You know what I mean? And, he pushed guys, I got a kick out of The Last Dance because I didn't know a lot of things that was going on in Chicago, but you got to see the inner workings of a great, great player and what he understood in order to make his teammates come up to his level. You know what I mean? And all those guys felt like, they can do anything out there on the court, obviously because of Mike, you know what I mean? And him pushing them to be the best that they can possibly be. You know what I mean? That says a lot about his leadership. You know what I mean? And that's what you appreciate about him as a player. And being as great as he was and gifted as he was athletic, I always tell people he probably was the smartest player that I ever played against. You know what I mean? The things that he used to do out there on the court, he knew, when he had to do it. And, that's what made him special. And he lifted his teammates. I can honestly say that. And Scott can probably speak on it better. But I saw all those guys play with a enormous confidence in themselves. You know what I mean? And some of them, when they left, they were just normal players after that. But when they was with Chicago and with Mike, they was at a whole nother level.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, I was getting booed by the time I left Philadelphia after I signed with them. So, yeah, it was totally different playing with MJ than playing with Dana Barros. So, two different cats.
Before we go to break, Michael, what were your thoughts on The Last Dance? Because I learned so much. I just was wondering from an outside fan what you thought.
So here's what I think, John. It is the holidays, right?
Yeah.
So like the season forgiven. I never met you, Scott.
That's right.
But I think you're a good guy, even though you played for the Bulls and all that.
I like you, Michael.
I think what we should do, John. What if we send Scott some product, and part of the deal is he's going to wear this shirt. He's going to send him a free John Starts the Dunk T-shirt.
Is that the dunk shirt?
I would tell you that now, Mike. I could tell you that right now. That ain't happening. But let me show the season.
Merchandise. I don't know if I can wear this. I'm not going to take the product, but yeah, hell, what the hell? You know what? I can do that.
It's just the spirit of giving and all. I thought, come on, Scott, we got a shot here, John. I thought we had a shot, but we will send some product. But here's a special thing, though. Anybody that goes to John Stark,
it just got real hot in here.
John Stark. Anybody that goes to johnstarksthedunk.com, they can buy the product, and we'll give them a free T-shirt. John Starks the Dunk T-shirt, and part of the proceeds goes to the foundation.
That's a
so
deal.
That's a foundation.
You guys send it out here. I'll put it on. Put it on my. I just got into that TikTok, so I'm just starting to do TikTok. So I'll put it on my TikTok.
Well, I've got a great piece. Here's a good peace treaty. Here's my peace treaty suggestion. So Scott, you get the T-shirt, you put it on, you do something, you send John your book, so John can pose with the book and say I hate you, and that.
Exactly. I love
you guys start this rivalry, and we'll us old people that don't do TikTok will start following you guys and paying attention, right?
Hey, here's another question. But I want to see y'all on the course, because I'll tell you one thing right now. I know how John plays, Scott. I don't know your game, but John knows I'm coming after. Like, I got a lot of work to do. That's all I'm going to say. John can golf, and I don't know where your game's at, but I need to see both y'all out on the golf course.
I'm sure John can kick my ass, because I think the last time I played, John, was at the Hoop Tee down in Charlotte, and of course it's no longer even there now. They think they've torn that up since the last time. I've picked up a club, played 18 holes, so I gotta get back out there. I'm living on a golf course now, and I spent all year last year rehabbing my shoulder. So I got my shoulder right, and I can fix my knee. Once I get my knee right, I get out there and start swinging a little bit better.
There you go. There you go.
Scott, as a guy with no legs, knees are overrated anyway. So, Hey, appreciate you guys. We're going to stick around for Put It On a Bow one more time. We'll go to a commercial, come back, wrap it up. This has been a great show. You've got John Starks, you got Scott Williams, two amazing former NBA players. Don't go away. You're watching Geary, Stein, and Stevens.
Easter Seals is the largest nonprofit provider of disability services nationwide, helping kids and adults with autism to achieve maximum independence. People with autism are at higher risk for mental health conditions. 85% of autistic kids have at least one. That's why we're working to help autistic people with complex behaviors and mental health challenges. We are Easter Seals.
Hi, everybody. Dave Stevens here for the Geary Stein and Stevens Show from Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Rays. And you know what? Not everybody can be a Major League Baseball player, but you can look like $1 million. What's the best way to do that? Well, go to freshcleanthreads.com. Don't believe me? That's right. You can look professional, feel good, and not spend a lot of money by wearing Fresh Clean Threads. They have amazing shirts. They've got Henleys and polos, long sleeves, and even bomber jackets. And if you like them, you can save some money by typing in the show code GSS Show from the Geary Stein and Stevens Show to save 20% off. So if you can't be a major leaguer and you want to dress like one, well, go to freshcleanthreads.com. That's freshcleanthreads.com. Tell them Dave sent you. Use that code GSS Show.
That's right, and I look good and I feel good in my Fresh Clean Threads as we wrap
Looking
up
sharp there.
Favorite shows of all time. This has been spontaneous. They were supposed to be two separate shows, and we ended up getting overlapping schedules, and so this has been amazing just to be spontaneous. So thank you, Michael, for helping us get John and putting this together, and Scott, your patience, because I know we've been trying to get you on for a while. And as we wrap it up, Troy?
Yeah, Scott, I know you kind of talk about in your book. I don't want to give too much away because I want people to go buy the book. But just kind of talk about how the situation with the Bulls happened after you were undrafted. For those that don't know that story.
Yeah, it's one of those wild things that happen in life. I guess right place, right time. I got an invitation to play in a summer basketball camp pickup game that drew on for some underprivileged kids in Greensboro, North Carolina, which was only about an hour from Chapel Hill, where I was at all summer working out. And I thought, hey, if I want to try to make it to the NBA, I got to test my skill level against pros. So MJ had a bunch of his guys that he played with in Chicago, and guys from the Charlotte Hornets came up, and some other guys from around the league. And I got an opportunity to be on MJ's team and found the ball in my hand late in the game. We were down by 1, and I fired a strikeout to MJ. A tongue comes out, and he knocks down a game-winning jumper. And as he's leaving the game, Fred Whitfield, John, who you know very well, says that MJ got on the phone with Jerry Krause leaving the gym and says, why don't you give Williams a tryout? And so Krause called my agent. We made it happen. And I got the last spot on the Bulls roster my rookie year. So just kind of was that kind of fell into my lap. But, if I hadn't have been in Chapel Hill, or if I hadn't have been in that game, Michael never makes that call. I'd probably never make it to the Chicago Bulls.
And John,
Scott, it's nice knowing people. Scott, I'm getting ready to say, Scott, it's nice knowing people in high places, ain't it?
You got that right. That was one of the best things that playing with the Bulls during that period of time with Michael. I remember one time I couldn't even get my agent to return my telephone calls, and I was out of shoes. I worn them down to the nub, and I called MJ and said, hey, can you get me some more kicks? And the next day I had 6 brand new pairs of Nikes, some gear, and everything else in the locker. So I kept me going for the rest of the year.
Nice.
And Scott, you talk about your book, and I don't want to be a huge downer, but
I'll hold it up
you grew up with abuse, and you grew up with a lot of things, and yet you have a smile on your face. You had a great NBA career. How did you overcome so many things? In your book, when you talk about your dad, you would have to set things in your door so you could hear the noise of your dad coming in and the abuse and things like that. So how did you get from point A to point B and still be able to smile?
My mother, I think, of all the things that was going on at home, my mother was a very strong woman. She raised us to always have confidence in ourselves and our abilities. Me and my brother, I'm talking about. I have an older brother, who's 3 years older than me, and I always took that attitude with me. And when he took my mom's life and then took his, I was devastated. And I thought about quitting basketball for a short period of time. And I talked to Coach Smith because practices were hard. Going to class was hard. I wasn't sleeping at nights. I was, hitting the bottle, drinking too much in the dormitory late in the evenings. And I won't say I was suicidal, but I had thoughts that were in place. But I was very blessed to still be in Chapel Hill. To be around Coach Smith, who said, no, you're not going to sit out the year. You're going to stay part of this team. I want to be able to keep an eye on you. Was the best thing for me was to be therapeutic on the court with my teammates, having to lock into a Dean Smith practice plan and not make mistakes. That became my therapy. It became kind of my place where I could escape some of the problems that are, emotions that I was, feelings that I was dealing with. And I became more confident in my abilities as my skill level began to grow during my sophomore campaign, and being around my teammates was huge. So I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time when something that certainly went really tragic for me happened to me. But had I been anywhere else, had I not had that Carolina structure that Dean Smith had in place, that family type structure, things would have gone completely different. And I tell people about the book or talk to people that it's tough, it's shameful to talk about the abuse that my brother, my mother, and I all suffered at the hands of my father. But you have to talk about it to be able to get to a better place in your life with it. I used basketball to mask some of that early on, not knowing any better. But I also had Coach Smith to be able to talk to in his office anytime I needed that, and that was huge.
I can't even fathom losing your parents and your father being responsible for that. I mean, God bless you, and thank you for sharing it and being so vulnerable in your book to tell people, because we all think it's all glamorous. This NBA life is glamorous. You make money. It's a great thing. You don't have any problems. And the same for you, John. You know, the way you got into the NBA. Talk a little bit about your assertion to get there and get that shot with Golden State.
Yeah, Scott, man, I didn't realize that you went through all that, my man. So my heart goes out to you, bro, for being strong. You know what I mean, and that says a lot about you as a man. You know what I mean. You could have easily quit, but you didn't. You know what I mean, and obviously, when you're going through situations like that, you need help of others. And I heard so much about Coach Smith, being there for his players, no matter what they need. And it says a lot about him as a man. And you can see the love and aspirations that each player had for Smith. And that says a lot. But, bro, man, I can't fathom that, going through something like that, bro. But I commend you for where you got to in life, because a lot of people would have checked out, you know what I mean? And you didn't do that. And then your story obviously truly needs to be told and heard, because there's a lot of kids going through what you went through, you know what I mean? And so keep telling that story, bro. It's going to help a lot of young people and a lot of, adults too, on top of it. But, I understand what you went through, because it was similar to what I had to go through with my mother and the life that she had to endure, at the hands of men in her life. You know what I mean? The abuse that I saw growing up, was just incredible. You know what I mean? You don't wish that on any child. And so I can relate to your story, not to the point, obviously, with your father taking your mother's life. And so, but I understand that what goes on in that household, what went on in that household, because it went on in mine. And so, but like you say, you have to be strong, and I used to put things in a box and just keep it there. I used to kind of like, basketball was my saving grace, as far as, taking my mind off of what was going on in my household. I used to go to the court, and I used to spend, hours and hours and hours and hours out there on the court. I used to don't come home until I had to come home. You know what I mean? And basketball is where I was at. I may not come home till 12 o'clock at nighttime because I'm on the court, you know what I mean, by myself, and just, trying to clear my mind. And I think it helped me be the person that I became, and gave me mental strength to get through whatever, in life. And, doing my trials and tribulations as a young man, trying to find myself and mature, especially right after high school, where I got myself in a lot of trouble in college and stuff like that. It wasn't until I got married and my son was born, that's what kicked me into gear. Now I got Miles to take care of. It's not just about me. Now I got to really get focused, and that's what pushed me to become the player I became, and helped me mature as a young man. And I started to get focused on life. Up to that point, I was just taking whatever came my way. But now I had mouths to feed. And so, and that gave me an opportunity to play in my that was my fourth junior college I went to. Gave me an opportunity to come in and play, and I became a junior college All-American. And Coach Leonard Hamilton, who gave me an opportunity to come in and play for Oklahoma State, even though I had 1 year eligibility because I screwed up my eligibility my first couple of years. And I took it as my opportunity to showcase my talent at the Division I level. And Larry Brown saw me when he was at Kansas, and they ended up winning the national championship that year. and he took a job over at San Antonio that following summer, and he liked what he saw in me. He gave me the opportunity to come in and try out, and the rest was history from there, you know. And so I'm appreciative of people around me that gave me those opportunities, but I'm also glad that I took advantage of them, because when they come around and you don't take advantage of them, then that's on you. But I took advantage of every opportunity that was presented to me.
And your stories are both so amazing, and I appreciate the vulnerability. I'm sitting here almost in tears just listening to those stories, even though I knew them, just to hear your both of you just being just you guys. So it was real. This is one of the most powerful shows we've ever had. And so I want to end it on a good note. So John, tell us a little bit about what you're doing in life and how things are going for you. And then Scott, fill us in about all the cool things you're doing. John?
Yeah, man, I'm blessed. You know, that's all I can really say. I'm really blessed. I've been working for the Knicks since 2004 when they asked me to come in and fill the role that Willis Reed was here doing as a community ambassador. And I've been doing that ever since. And I recently opened up a car dealership about 2 years ago, a Kia dealership here in New York, in Queens. That's been rocking, been going very well, in the process of opening up a couple of more dealerships here in New York. And then I'm with Thin Energy, man, doing our thing with Thin Energy and trying to get the word out about this drink that it can really, truly, truly make a big difference in your life. And so, you know, we're trying to do some big things, especially with that.
Scott, what are you up to?
Well, I'm the newest spokesman for Thin Energy. I'll be rocking my dunk here for the holiday season. I'm also working over at Grand Canyon University, part of the men's and women's basketball broadcasting program on television. So shout out to the Lopes. And I enjoy that. You know, I've enjoyed being around basketball ever since I retired in 2005, either as a broadcaster or as a coach. I had a little youth basketball clinic here called Dream Team Academy that we started. So working on youth basketball has always been fun, giving back, of course, coaching my kids as well. But you know, through basketball and a media and security company called Anytime Media and Security keeps me pretty busy. Although shout out to my business partner Wade Gaborio, because he does all the heavy lifting there. So if I don't give him a shout out, I won't get invited to the holiday Christmas party. But anyway, that's really about it. I enjoy trying to give back to the community with this book project, like John says. And I didn't know that about you either, John. So I appreciate the kind words, but also I sympathize for all the things that you had to endure growing up as well. And that's one of the reasons why my Coach Smith and my mother on the back cover of this book that I didn't get a chance to hold up, because I wanted to give back to domestic violence centers, and I targeted one in Chapel Hill called the Compass Center, and there's a center here in Arizona as well that I work with to try to help give back some of the proceeds from the book that goes to those two fine facilities that help shelter battered women and children.
And you can find that book at Amazon.com and all over the internet, and it really is a great read. And thank you guys so much for being a part of this show. Michael, one last pitch
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
Can I say one thing? So, funny thing, Scott. So, when I was with Oklahoma State, so after my senior year, after the year with Oklahoma State, I said, you know, Coach Self was my assistant coach, and he said that it's a school in Arizona, and the coach was Paul Westphal, and he said, Paul Westphal. He said, because I had 1 year of eligibility left, and they just won the NIA championship at the time, and so I was actually getting ready to go out there and play for Paul Westphal in Grand Canyon for that one season, because Coach Brown said, Yeah, Coach. It's funny because Coach Brown said, you know what? If I was going to take an NBA coaching job, I would hide him out at a school and take him in the draft. And so I was going to go out there and play for Paul Westphal, and he ended up taking the assistant coach job with the Phoenix Suns. He ended up leaving. So I said, I'm not going there. Then Coach Brown got the job at San Antonio, and I told Coach Self, him and Coach Brown was good friends. I said, tell him I'm coming out. He said, well, I can't draft him. We can't draft him because we already got our draft choice, which is going to be Vernon Maxwell. But he can come into camp. So that's funny how things work out, ain't it?
That's right. Small world for sure.
And we lost,
small world.
we lost Paul Westphal way too young. He was such a great mind. But Michael, also give one more promo, bud.
Yeah, no, you know what? And it's not really a promo because, I think this is really good kind of ending the note on this because one of the things, just hearing everybody's story, one of the things, I came from I grew up poor. I have a whole story. And at the end of the day, it's pivotal moments in life. And that's what I think these kids need right now. Scott, what you're doing, John, we all have a story, what y'all are doing, Troy, with the show and everything. And, I just want to, get the word out and hearing this story, hearing your stories, man, the more you speak it, you're going to make that positive impact for the kids. And when you look at these kids today, these kids need inspiration. That pivotal moment, we're all being challenged in different ways. And now with social media, I can't even imagine growing up in that world. Myself, I had 3 kids, a granddaughter. So, as leaders of today, we need to step up because the future is our kids. And if we don't start making a positive impact in our communities with our kids, I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, we're all one. We all have a B. What's your B? Be healthy, be happy, be hydrated. What's your B? My B is be united and use health and wellness as a platform to bring people together. And again, COVID showed us it doesn't matter how much money we have, where we're from. At the end of the day, without your health and wellness, nothing matters. So, just props to you, Scott, what you're doing with your story, sharing that, because you inspired me and you struck a chord with me, and it just motivated me even more. And John does it every freaking day, man. I call him; he's on the game. That same tenacity he had on the court, he has in business. And I'm just excited to be a part of this show. And thanks for having us. And pay it forward, man. That's what it's about.
And all B's are good except for BO, I think. That's a B that you don't want, right? So, all right, Troy.
We had a good moment there for a minute.
We can edit that, right?
Hey, Scotty, those Tar Heels is on. Those Tar Heels is on, so I know you want to get to that.
I brought. Well, I don't know if you can see my. We'll show the interlock. You didn't see. They take it on. What do you got? Louis? No, not Louis. What the heck they playing tonight? They're not playing UConn, are they? No. I'm trying to think who the heck they playing tonight.
I don't even know.
Shoot, I forgot. I know they're part of that.
You can turn it on here in a second.
Yeah, they're part of the SEC, ACC talent. So I'm gonna jump.
John, are you ever going to write a book? Are you going to write a book, John, someday?
He has a book.
I already wrote a book. I wrote a book some years ago, a long time ago, around about 2004, 5, somewhere around in there. Yeah.
All right. I'll have to go find that one and read it and see if you had any other delicious things that we could talk about next time we have you on the show. So, all right, Troy, final thoughts.
Make sure everybody shares the address. I want to make sure I get you guys autographed copies of this book before we all start going our separate ways for the holidays. So everyone share the addresses with me now.
We will, and again, we got to make sure that we get a nice plug-in for that book, Through the Fire.
Yeah, go to Amazon.com, order it.
Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or DM me. I'll send you a copy.
And then get your dunk shirt. You get your dunk shirt from John, too, and it's a happy holiday.
I'm going to get my thin energy drink. I'm going to look good going into 2024.
That's right. Troy, final thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I just want to appreciate both you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. It was definitely a treat tonight.
This is even better than the Village People show.
It was a great surprise. I didn't know I was going to just meet Michael and John. So this was awesome, guys. Thank you guys so very, very much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, take care. Troy, for myself, John, Michael, Scott, and whoever else is watching and listening. You've been watching and listening to the Geary Stein and Stevens Show. Thank you guys so much for your support on your home TV, on Roku, on every platform, and Spotify and Apple and all those things. So until next time, America, this is Dave Stevens for the Geary Stein and Stevens Show.
Thank you for tuning in to the Geary Stein and Stevens Show. Follow us on social media, watch us on yourhometv.com, or now we're on Roku. Download it and watch us. And thanks for tuning in. Until next time, America.